Morning, Jack.
What are you doing here?
Working. And if you jump on my shift, that's just rude, man.
I hope I'm never one of your patients.
No, it's so good to see you again. It was really, it was important to me to talk to you about this show, given, you know what ER and your performance meant to me, the effect that it's had on my life. And this show has just been amazing to watch. I've seen the first 10 episodes, and I got to tell you, without any bias, sincerely, your two that you wrote are my favorites.
Oh, wow. Right on.
Here, this is kind of like a Michael Corleone. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in kind of thing. You're back in Scrubs, you're back on Thursday nights, but it's a new show, it's a new character, and it's a very different time for medical professionals and the kinds of things they have to face. Tell me a bit about what drew you back into the game here.
First of all, thank you for all of that. That's lovely. All of those lovely things you just. I had a rough 2020, like a lot of people did, and somewhere in the middle of 2020, I started thinking aspirationally about having a nervous breakdown, and couldn't figure out when to schedule it because I was really, beset with responsibilities. And in the midst of all of that, I kept getting this mail from first responders who were telling me how horrible their daily lives were, but at the same time, sort of thanking me for being an inspiration in going into the profession in the first place, which was really heavy to receive. And so I pivoted the compliments to John Wells, and I just said, "Hey, I'm getting a lot of love from this community, and I think that we had a lot of influence on this, and I think we should be proud of the work we did. And if you ever want to revisit this world and talk about what's happening now, and how there's two different healthcare systems, and you want to make a sort of Jeremiah from the mountain, I'd volunteer to be your megaphone." And that's kind of where it started. And initially, the most available delivery system seemed to be going back and seeing if we could get ER going again. And it started off being a kind of Carter-centric look, a kind of darker character piece that would be a sort of just a coda to the narrative. And then that kind of got expanded with everybody's enthusiasm into something that eventually kind of imploded under its own weight. But it created, I think, a vacuum, of expectation for a type of show that used to be on TV that people want to see again. And John, Scott, and I put our heads together in the post-mortem of the other thing not working out and thought, well, what did we want to do? And I said, well, I want to shine the spotlight back on this community that's really, that needs the morale boost, that needs the attention and the gratitude, frankly. And Scott said, I want to do something we haven't done before. I want to, push the limit on what's been done in this genre and find a new way to tell a story. And John said, well, we can still do that. And that's what we did.
And it really has taken on an identity of its own. The all in one day of one shift angle is really brilliant, because we had 24 that was each episode was an hour, but they're everywhere you drove to in LA took exactly 7 minutes. It wasn't real world real time. This is real world real time, and it just hooks you in like nothing else. And you tackle a lot of really timely topics in this, from the ravages of COVID, anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers, to fentanyl, shootings, staffing shortages, and increasing hostility toward healthcare workers. And there's also what I call the ER-rated element, where you can have a more unflinching, harsher, grittier look at aspect of hospital works. Was there one of these particular aspects that really resonated most with you?
Well, in the beginning, it was just sort of titillating to not have limitations of standards and practices in place. To be able to say whatever you want and show whatever you want is sort of exhilarating. And then it becomes an exercise in discretion and taste and storytelling as to what you want to show and why. And then, in terms of what of those myriad storylines I most resonated with, there were a couple. I had an opportunity because it was the first script I wrote to really sort of zero in on end of life ritual and end of life care and how we're going to be caring for uh, our parents' generation, which is a very large generation that is all going to be requiring care in the next 5 to 10 years, if not sooner. And it's an important conversation to start. So I was really excited to have that play out in a little bit more of a naked and raw way than I think we've ever seen it depicted before.
And as somebody who has been in that room and let a parent go and had to make that choice, I got to tell you, you nailed it. Both in terms of acting and certainly in terms of writing, you have done some career best work on this show, my friend, and it's been amazing to see.
This feels like a graduation for me. This job has felt like a graduation. I felt like I touched another rung on the ladder creatively. It's been really gratifying, but it's been really communal too. I've had a lot of fun in the last 15 years, and I've worked with some tremendously talented people and done some really great work, but I haven't felt this kind of buy-in top to bottom, which really comes from a need to wanting to buy in to something, and make 1+1=3 every day. And it's super exciting to see. I think it's a combination of going through a pandemic and a long 192-day labor strike. People are excited to work. People are excited to work in Los Angeles and go home every night and see their families. And they're excited to work on something that has a little bit of meaning and resonates with what's happening in the world. That reflects well in their circle of friends and family, which comes back to wanting to do a good job, and it feeds on itself. It's been really quite charmed.
Thank you. And you've got a great ensemble on the show, and not just the team at the Pitt, who are all phenomenal. You've got a great cast there, but the patients as well. We've got familiar faces like Mackenzie Aston, who has been a favorite of mine, ironically, for as long as George Clooney has been a favorite, because I got to know them both at the same time when they were on The Facts of Life together. And I'm like, those kind of connections come back in my head. And then you even have Drew Powell showing up, who, of course, is kind of an Electric Entertainment mainstay. So it's the Dean Devlin multiverse and the John Wells multiverse coming together. Are there any particular cast members that stick out that you've really just gelled with that have been great to play off of?
Brandon Keener and Samantha Sloan, who play the parents of the overdosed teen, they just were phenomenal. Everybody that's come in, Madison Mason, who plays the older guy, and Mackenzie and Rebecca, who plays the daughter, they were all phenomenal. Everybody that's come in has just joined the ensemble and hit the ground running. Top-notch performers, all of them.
It's an amazing cast. And you've also got this wonderful next generation thing going where you have Mackenzie Aston, and then you've got the daughter of Bryan Cranston and the daughter of Brad Dourif and the daughter of Data from Star Trek. Issa Briones plays his daughter. So,
well, Issa herself is also a bit of a nepo baby. JJ Briones, her father, is a Broadway legend.
Exactly. So I can't wait to see who's coming up next season. Now, I know a lot of people are, myself included, are really looking forward to Leverage Redemption season 3, and the Pitt so far seems to be a big success. It really is, I think, the best thing on TV right now. Is there potential for a future where you're hopping from Pittsburgh to New Orleans on our TV screen on a regular basis, or what do you think there?
I don't know. I certainly have great affection for both. The Leverage has been a tricky and sort of difficult show to do because of how long we have to wait until do another season. It's just really hard to stay committed to something that when you don't know when it's going to come back into production. So that proved to be logistically difficult for me just this last season because I was already on the writing staff for the Pitt when they were shooting. So I was
Mhm.
doing, because of the time difference, I would try to shoot in the morning and then join the writing room in the afternoon and then flip it most days. And it was
Yeah.
arduous, but not impossible, and required a lot of flexibility on Brandon Lambden, the UPM for Leverage's part. But I'd love to.
Yeah.
I feel like I've spent most of my career playing with two different bands.